Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2187. Today, put on your motorcycle helmet, your boots and gloves, because we're going to go for a fun ride. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm across the pond again in London, England, with a very special guest by the name of Alan Dowds. Alan, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I am very much ready to go, Mark. Let's do it.
We're going to have some fun here. Now, riding motorcycles, though, through the streets of London maybe not be the best solution. We might need to get out to the countryside and go for a ride. But, that would be quite a wonderful thing to do. But before I give you a proper introduction, we talk about your life and a wonderful new book that you've put together. What's one little thing that maybe people don't know about Alan Dowds?
Yes. I don't know if it's not as unusual now as it used to be, but I don't eat meat. I've been a vegetarian since 1987, which is quite a long time.
Yeah.
So that might be a bit unexpected, but stuck with it all these years. And
I'm curious, how has that changed, or how long did it take for you to notice a change, specifically in your health, I would assume, because that's why many people are vegetarians, and I've got family members, but how has that affected you? Have you seen improvements? You feel better, more energy?
It's such a long time ago now, and I think I was 16 at the time, and when you're 16, you're full of energy anyway, aren't you? So I was seeing a girl at the time, and she was vegetarian, and I gave it a go, and it's stuck ever since. So there you go.
Well, I have a daughter-in-law who is a vegetarian, and whenever she's over here, we always cook those types of meals, and I've always found them delicious and wonderful. And I tell you, if you told me tomorrow I couldn't eat any more probably red meat and pork, I'd probably go, that's okay.
Yeah.
I love fish. Fish is something that I really enjoy eating, so I'm not sure I could give that up. But
healthy as well, yeah.
Yeah, I would hope so. We have a lot of fish here in the Northwest, but I think it's a great thing. So let me give you a proper introduction. Alan Dowds is a freelance motorcycle photojournalist. He started writing and reading bike magazines in Scotland, there's the accent, in the late 1980s. In 1995, he started running his own fanzine, A5 format magazine in Glasgow, and then got his start in motorcycle news in England in 1997. So he's been doing this for a while. Alan worked there as a news reporter for 2 years and then moved to Ride magazine as road test editor. That's a fun job. After moving to London in 2001, he worked at Superbike magazine as deputy editor and stayed there for the next decade. And then in 2011, Alan went freelance, and as he calls himself jack of all trades freelancer, he now works as a writer, a photographer, and video producer. And his new book is titled BMW Motorcycles 100 Years and is published by my good friends at Motorbooks. We'll learn more about Alan and his book, but first we're going to pull into the pits here, take a break. So sit tight, keep your helmet on, keep your gloves on, because they're going to be twisting the wrist in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Great.
I've enjoyed the quality and variety of Lloyd's floor mats for decades now, and I'm super excited to report that Lloyd's Mat Store is now part of the Covercraft family of products. Car care that protects the things that move you. Lloyd's floor mats are the ultimate in quality and fit with carpet mats, all-weather mats, velour tex, Berber, classic loop carpet, and they're proudly made in the USA. They're designed and sewn with the highest of quality and offer custom fitment for almost any vehicle. There's a wide variety of styles, fabrics, and colors to choose from, and hundreds of licensed logos as well. Protect your vehicle's factory carpets from moisture, dirt, mud, snow, slush, anything that Mother Nature can throw your way. All of your options are quality made, easy to clean, they secure to the floor, and they look oh so good. Check out Lloyd's Mat Store for a wide variety of styles, colors, and options for your vehicle today. And I've got a special deal for you. If you use the code CARSYEAH, CARSYEAH at LloydsMatStore.com, you'll get $10 off. Just use the code CARSYEAH at LLOYDMATS LLOYDSTORE.com, LloydsMatStore.com, Covercraft and Lloyd's Mats, protecting the things that move you. Most people don't think about their collector car insurance until their annual premium becomes due. Well, why wait and see if there are better options for your beloved rides? I didn't. Did you know if you change carriers before your policy runs out, your insurance company has to refund you the unearned portion of your policy premium? I did my homework, I shopped around, and I found American Collectors Insurance. They've been protecting collector vehicles since 1976. I encourage you to call my friends at American Collectors Insurance. Ask them about their agreed value policy. And if your collector vehicle is on your regular auto policy, you will be shocked at the savings, not to mention the assurance, should something bad happen to your ride, that you'll get what your vehicle is actually worth. Give them a call today for a quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of Mark Green at Cars Yeah! American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. Give them a call today. Fall is here, and you know what that means. Time to put a good coat of protection on your vehicle. I'm teamed up with Auto Geek, and they've been the leading source of auto detailing products, accessories, and expert knowledge for more than 20 years. What started back in 1997 as a small mail-order catalog company grew into a multi-website based e-commerce store, and that's what they are today. With a large online presence on its own website featuring close to 100 different brands, Auto Geek has grown to be the largest car care retailer in the country. Auto Geek's wholesale program serves accounts in over 30 countries, and its retail sector ships worldwide. If you want to protect your vehicle this fall, and you should, go to autogeek.net for the best product selection on the internet today and technical support. Autogeek.net is where I go for my detailing needs. That's autogeek.net. So, Alan, you obviously love motorcycles. So let's kind of take a walk back through your past before we talk about what you're doing today in this wonderful new book, which is just awesome, perfect in time for the holidays. Motorcycles, how did you first get into bikes, and what do they mean to you?
I mean, right back in the very early days when I was sort of 17, I had a nighttime job, and getting to and from wasn't so easy. I didn't drive a car at the time. There was no bus. And a guy I worked with, Eddie, he had a Honda Super Dream 250, and he used to give me a lift on the back of that. And within, the first ride on it, I thought, this is for me. This has to be the way forward. So Eddie got me a motorbike, got me a 125 learner bike, and I passed my test. I was at university at the same time to do my degree in communication studies, and over the next couple of years, I was studying the media, journalism, publishing, and at the same time I was reading the motorcycle magazines of the time, early 1990s. So you're talking about performance bikes, superbike. And I think at that time, those magazines were at their peak in so many ways. There were so many great people working there. They were making really, really incredible journalism. And I just saw it and thought, that's for me. I've got to, how do I do this exciting lifestyle is the question. And, you traveling the world, riding new motorbikes, writing about them. And it was a dream job for me, if you like. And the next job was to get there and do it. And that's what we've done.
Well, you're living the dream life, and that's what Cars Yeah! is all about. People that have wrapped their passion for bikes, motorcycles, cars, trucks into their careers and lives. And the fact that you figured out how to do that at a very young age is very commendable, because a lot of people, they listen to their peers or parents or whatever. Oh, go get a real job, right? And you can do that on the side, but you just said, nope, this is going to be for me. And, you sent me some pictures of yourself on some bikes. You obviously know how to ride, because you're doing some wheelies on some pretty big bikes. Motorcycles are so much fun. I rode motorcycles back in junior high and high school, off-road dirt bikes. And then I kind of got out of them, and I got back into them some years ago and thought I'd go full bore. So I bought a crazy bike, an MV Agusta F4.
Oh, nice.
And a 750 Ducati Monster. And two really fun. I mean, I'm kind of into stuff's got to look cool, So, but there was there was a BMW motorcycle dealership across the street from my office, and I used to go over there, and they'd let me ride some of their bikes. BMW bikes to me are now, you have to maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I thought of them as almost the Rolls Royce of motorcycles, because you get on their big touring bikes and they are just delicious. I mean, and then the GS bikes, you can ride them anywhere, go anywhere. Ewan McGregor in that great series he did showed us that. So let's talk about this book, because you cover a wide swath, 100 years of BMW. And I mean, this book is 239 pages. It's 10 by 12. It's massive, but it's a lot more than just a coffee table picture book. You've got a lot of details. So let's walk you. I mean, how long did it take, first of all, to put this book together? It's massive.
I spoke to the guys at Motorbooks in about April 2021, I think, and they says, okay, let's go, and we hatched a plan, we put a brief together, and we got the structure out, and they says, okay, we need to buy the end of the year. And you think, oh, that's so much time, that's more than enough time. So, of course, you do nothing for 3 months. And the first thing I did was make a spreadsheet with, the dates and then the number of words required, and I quickly fell behind with that. But it was a really interesting job, because I've been a journalist since the mid-1990s, and I've been a motorcyclist since the late 1980s. So I think I knew BMW's story really well, BMW's motorcycle story. I knew it really well from 1985 till today, So I was very, very comfortable with telling that story from my own experience and sort of being there and seeing it. But before that, I didn't have much, It was you're thinking, God, what was BMW doing in the 1950s? I don't really know. And so it was a case of, a lot of reading, a lot of background reading, and getting down the library and going on eBay and picking up, I think BMW had a really, really good corporate history book, which was really, really detailed and covered, all the aspects of the company side. They've also got an excellent archive website, and that covers all the bikes. So each model has got a picture, it's got all the details and the specs. So that was really, really useful. So I think I spent the first, sort of 6 weeks, 2 months just reading and thinking and making notes, working out, the early part of the story, if you like, because the story is intertwined with so much, world history as well. BMW started after World War One. They were an aircraft engine maker. Treaty of Versailles meant that they couldn't make aircraft engines anymore. Germany was, in the toilet. The place was destroyed. The economy was all over the place. And they said that one of the things they could make was motorcycles.
Yeah.
So it's almost by chance that was what came about. And those early days were tough. And then you read about, between the wars, things were getting on an even keel, and then Hitler appears, and the Nazis, and World War II, and it's everything's destroyed again after World War II. So it's such an interesting story in the wider context as well, I think.
The number of years the bike's been around, and it's quite amazing. And you walk through the history and how they evolved, and of course then the BMW motor car company came about and so forth, which I've been a big fan of. But one of the neat things about your book is you've got wonderful photographs, which is always fun for those of us who are into visual, but a lot of details, a lot of specs. I see it as a great reference book in many ways.
Hopefully,
yeah, for people to go back and learn and see things. And what I learned is about a lot of bikes I didn't even know about. I didn't know they did that, or that bike existed, because there's some key bikes that you see at motorcycle shows or bikes that have survived, but there's so many bikes in their history that haven't. So let's do this. We'll play a little game here. When you think about bikes that are let's say pre-1960, as in your study here, was there a bike that stood out to you that kind of surprised you?
Hey, I think the full swing range of bikes in the 1950s, when they had the Earl's fork front end and the sort of swing arm rear suspension, but still almost a plunger type frame. Looking at those now, they look almost like modern bikes, but there's just something a bit off about them, and it's the front end, and it's looking back and thinking, wow, that's a very, very heavy, a very over-engineered front end. It seems that was one of the things that was done is they've done things differently, haven't they? They don't follow the same path as everyone else on purpose, I think, sometimes. So it's funny looking at those and going, wow, that's, heavy engineering in terms of the chassis, and the no compromise nature as well. There's the shaft drive was there. They wouldn't step away from it. The boxer engine was there. They weren't interested in trying anything else. And even when they were going racing against the British at the time, the Nortons and the Triumphs, they stuck to their principles. So there was no chain drive. There was no trying to make a parallel twin upright. It was just, this is what we do. And we're sticking to it. And one of the most interesting things I found was that I was reading about the racing history, and there's a little bit in the book about BMW's racing history on two wheels, but there's not a lot, because I think that those compromises meant that they struggled a lot in solo motorcycle racing, certainly. But I discovered that, which I didn't know, that between 1955 and 1974, I think, they won every single sidecar world championship. With the boxer engine, the shaft drive. I mean, they worked them hard. They developed fuel injection, mechanical fuel injection systems, and just every single title, BMW. And I had no idea about that at all. And it was just, again, an interesting little niche that the BMW was doing all that time.
Yeah. Well, you think about the design of the bike with that engine design, low weight. And those sidecar bikes are all about trying to stay low, low. I always look at the guys that would, I think they called them the monkeys, that would bounce back and forth to balance it out. Who would pick that
passengers,
job?
You have to be certified to do that. So, that's
maybe the only other crazier guys are the guys that race Isle of Man.
Oh, God, yeah.
I can't imagine that. Well, and then you take us all the way into the edges of the future, and let's go into, I'll use the words EV, because this is a word that some people go, ugh, other people get excited about, and motorcycle guys go, why would you want to ride something that makes no noise? However, it's coming. It's whether it's being forced down our throats or it's being accepted, a combination of all the above. Your book takes us into a bit of the future as well, which is kind of cool. So talk about your exploration there.
I mean, you're coming from the car world, and you know very well how electric vehicles are being very successful there. And it's much more difficult with two wheels, because cars have got the space and the mass overhead, if you like. So you can hide 500 kilos and, something the size of 3 large suitcases. You can hide that under the floor of a car quite easily. Doesn't affect things too much. But if you're making a sports bike, or even, as you say, the GS, if you want something that can travel for 150, 200 miles and with 100 horsepower, the battery pack needed for that is too heavy and too large to fit onto a motorcycle at the moment, without making the motorcycle impossibly heavy. So it's not, I don't see a simple, straightforward path for high performance electric motorcycles at the moment. I mean, if you want to ride around town, perfect. BMW sells the CE4 electric scooter at the moment. It uses technologies from the i3 car, and it looks good, it's funky, it's aimed at the kids, I suppose. And, if you work 10 miles away in the centre of London and you want to get there with an EV, then that would be perfect, I would think. But if you want to ride across Mongolia,
it might be trouble to find a place to charge that thing.
Yeah, so at the moment, there's no obvious, simple pathway for electric motorcycles at the high end. It seems to me. So, I mean, if anyone can do it, BMW is going to be up there with the advantage they have with the car company right next door. I was at the factory this summer and speaking to a few people, and they say, we're always sort of not working together with, but getting ideas from the car side, and engineers move from one side to the other, and it's really useful for them to do that. So, I mean, watch this space for BMW. And
well, yeah,
I suppose,
it's going to be there. It has to be there. I think it's almost a requirement. It seems like these days. When you think about your motorcycle passion in your life and your career, I would assume there's been somebody who's been what I like to call a driving inspiration, a mentor, an influencer in your life. Has there been somebody like that that's really stood out and helped you?
That's a great question. I think there's been a lot of people. I mean, I think I've worked at a few places. So when I started out with my own magazine, I set it up with a friend, Alan Smith, up in Glasgow, and we had a really good team feel between us there. We worked really well together. And then when I moved into professional journalism, working for EMAP, as it was at the time, at Motorcycle News, the editor there was Adam Duckworth at the time, and he gave me my first job, and obviously you're learning all the time off these guys when you're just starting out. And then at Ride Magazine, the editor was Tim Thompson again, a great journalist to watch and learn from. And Superbike, my editor was Kenny Pride, again, a good friend as well as someone to learn from. So
yeah, nice.
There's been a lot of these people. I think that one of the first inspirations I had was a guy called John Robinson, and he was a technical editor at Performance Bikes in the 1990s, and he was a lovely man. When I finally met him, he was a lovely man, but he was so clever and he was so gifted at writing and explaining technical issues on motorcycling. And he wrote some books which I bought and loved, and every month you were waiting for John Robinson's articles. And if I had to name someone in the motorcycle journalism world that you really looked up to, he would be the one, I think.
Yeah.
He's a bit like Kevin Cameron, I suppose, similar.
Yeah, fortunate.
In the US.
Fortunate to be around so many great people. We'll pull in and take another quick pit stop. We come back. We'll talk a little bit about some challenges you face. So again, keep the helmet on, keep the gloves and boots on. So if we go down, we'll be okay. I don't think we're going to, though. We'll be right back. You've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine here on Cars Yeah for a couple of years now. Well, they're growing. And in 2023, they're going to grow from 4 issues a year to 6. And there's an opportunity here for you to take advantage of this growth. If you go to linkagemag.com and click on the Renew button, if you already subscribe, you can get a great deal. Use the code RENEW6 for 1 year, and you'll get 6 issues for the price of 4, or type in Renew 12 for 2 years, where you also have a great savings. Plus, they'll even throw in a free Linkage hat. How cool is that? The publisher of Linkage is Donald Osborne. He's been a guest multiple times here on Cars Yeah. He's become a good friend of mine, and I'll tell you, Linkage Magazine is one of those newer magazines that you're going to want to get. It's all about experiences, opinions, and values. It's a wonderful publication, something I look forward to getting. And now that I'm going to be getting 6 a year, even more special. So go to linkagemag.com. Again, use the code RENEW6 or RENEW12 to get that special deal. Do it before December 31st, 2022, so that in 2023, you'll get 6 issues of Linkage Magazine instead of 4. Did you know that less than 3% of all automotive technicians in the U.S. are women? You may not be surprised, but you should be concerned because our country is facing a massive technician shortage right now. Skilled, qualified techs are in high demand, and we need young men and women to consider these viable career paths. Cars Yeah knows that women make great techs. I've interviewed a lot of them, so we support the nonprofit Tech Force Foundation and its Women Tech Rocks initiative to ensure women see themselves in this profession, the industry, and the workforce. Learn more at techforce.org today. All right, so Alan, I like to ask people about challenges in their lives, their careers. Maybe it's a big challenge you faced in putting this book together, but what did that challenge or that obstacle teach you so you can move forward? So when you look back, you go, that was tough, but I sure learned a great lesson there.
This is a tricky one. I mean, I think I've been quite blessed. I think I've had an easy life in some ways. Challenges. I was in Iceland last week. We were riding off-road bikes, and that was a challenge. And I think you mentioned earlier that one of the rules is just to keep going, isn't it? You get your head down and you go, oh, bloody hell, we've got this big ride ahead of us, we've got this big job ahead of us. I've got to write 50,000 words for this book by the end of next week, and you just have to. You've got to get yourself in the mood, sit down, get a coffee, and just get it done. There's no right. I don't have any magic answers. I don't think.
Well, I've interviewed so many writers, and one of the things I hear from hundreds of them actually, and one of the things that many of them say, and it works for any kind of work, is you just have to start. And if you're a writer, you have to write every day. Just force yourself.
Oh, yeah.
There's some days you don't want to. It's like being a racer, I guess, on a motorcycle. Some days you don't feel like getting on the bike, but you got to get on it and go out there and do it. It's like exercise or anything.
Yeah, if I could find the answer to procrastination, I would be a very wealthy man, I think. But, in some ways, I think the problem sometimes is when you've got time to do a job, you go, well, I've got time, so I won't do it until I need to do it. And that's, I don't know. But I think that gives you the creative pressure as well, so you're sitting in the morning, you go, right, I've got till tomorrow to do this, so and you do nothing until the evening, and then the evening is a mad frenzy, and you get in the zone, and then it's done before you know it quite often, so... No, I think the creative pressure from a deadline is the answer to procrastination.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I had a friend once say to me, and he's a very wealthy guy, and he said, Mark, there's a couple problems in life. Time is one of them. You either have too much or not enough. And both of those things create challenges. And he said the same thing about money. He said money is the same way. If you have not enough, it's a problem. And if you have too much, it's a problem. And I said, well, what do you mean having too much money is a problem? And he said, well, because then you got to figure out how to keep it and how to make it grow. And it becomes,
you get used to it, don't you?
Yeah, and it becomes a burden in a way, although you can hire people, but then you got to make sure they're not pilfering their part off the top. So, but I look at time as the real challenge for everybody, because as we get older, time becomes, it seems like you have less and less, which is... So let's talk about a special bike in your life. You've ridden so many bikes and had so much fun on bikes. Is there one that you've either owned or you've maybe ridden or aspired to own that really stands out for you?
I mean, this is one of those things which at the time it didn't seem like a big deal, because it was 2005, I think. So I was at Superbike magazine. As you say, I was on press launches every month. You were riding bikes, you were traveling the world. And at the time, I just went, oh, that would be cool. And it was a Honda MotoGP test in Sepang, in Malaysia, at the Sepang circuit. And it was the end of the season, so it was an invite to go and ride. It was Nicky Hayden's V5 MotoGP bike.
Oh, my God.
And Danny Pedrosa's 250 two-stroke. So, I thought that's great. And as I get older and look back, that was one of the great trips that I did. And it was, it was in Sepang, an amazing track in Malaysia, and very, very hot, very, very humid, so quite a lot of pressure before you go. Honda UK flew us out business class, which is always nice, and there was a buzz about the experience at the time. And I think I got 5 laps on the MotoGP bike, so you're going round this track.
Holy
thinking,
cow.
Don't crash. Don't crash.
Yeah, don't crash.
Don't crash. You're thinking, but you don't want to go too slow either, do you? You've got to keep the slicks warm. You're trying to look good for the camera. This was before you had to worry about GoPros on your helmet and all that. So I suppose that was one thing less to worry about, But it was just, you're just riding this. This is the best bike in the world, I suppose. It's the best race bike in the world. It's the thing which Honda has put all its wisdom into, and that Nicky Hayden's developed, and just a sublime thing to ride round.
Oh my gosh, you must have pinched yourself. Well, how did I get here?
Well, exactly that. And but then the 250 was even more special, I think, because it's such a... at the time you knew two-strokes were on their way out, so this was the finest, the peak of two-stroke motorcycle racing technology, I guess. And we only get 3 laps on that. That was even more special and exotic and unusual. So riding around that big, massive track,
what fun!
And in those events, you get a lot of track time to yourself. So you've almost... You don't see anyone else because there's one bike going round, you're on it, and it's hard to explain just how special it feels at the time, and just when you look back, you go, wow, I'm a lucky man to chance to.
Oh, what fun. Yeah, magical moments. So I'm going to be your motorcycle psychologist here today. I'm going to crawl I'm going to crawl into your head a little bit here, Alan. Could be a scary place. We'll see. If you were I always say reincarnated as a pun, but motorcyclated. Is that even a word? I don't think so, but I'll make it up. I'm the writer today. If you were manifest as a motorcycle. Now, this isn't what you want to be. This is how you perceive your inner self as a bike.
Okay.
Yeah, what would you be and why?
Well, I suppose it should be a BMW, shouldn't it? Because of the subject matter of the podcast. So I'll say a BMW.
Okay.
And I'm thinking probably an older GS, not a new one, because I'm old and I'm a bit wrinkled at the edges, of course, as we all are.
You look pretty young from my side of the fence, dude.
Oh, you're a lovely man, Mark. What nice. That's an old picture I sent you. But yeah, I think something useful, gets the job done, plugs away. Maybe isn't the most glamorous, isn't sort of at the top of the crowd shouting its head off, but just in the background a little bit, doing the best job you can and just getting things done.
Yeah,
I think that's what I would say.
I mentioned long ago where I used to work, there was a BMW motorcycle dealership across the street, and my window looked out. And in the Pacific Northwest here, much like London, we get some rain in the wintertime, in the spring, and you would see the bikes up here in the Northwest kind of go away when the weather turned. But I would see every day a guy on a GS pull into that parking lot and ride up. It could be dumping rain. And I just go, those guys have it figured out. And I mentioned Ewan McGregor.
Determined.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor and his documentaries on his bikes and so forth of riding those things around the world. Yeah, they just get the job done. Kind of like old Range Rovers,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, nice way to answer that book. Now, or that question, I should say. I'm thinking about your book. Back to books, I'm going to put a link to how you listeners can get your hands on Alan's book. I'll tell you, even if you're not into bikes, this is kind of a good starter book for you because it covers one of the best brands of bikes out there. Now, some people are rolling their eyes right now, but love BMW bikes. But is there another book maybe you can share with us that, I could add to your list of reading requirements?
I would probably think, if you're talking about motorcycle books, I would say that the John Robinson books I mentioned earlier, he did some books about 2-stroke tuning, 4-stroke tuning, and chassis tuning. And they're not sort of fun, sit down and read books, but I think reading them gives you a real basic understanding of what your bike's doing, and what's behind your bike. I mean, they're a little bit out of date now. I mean, John died a good few years ago now, sadly, but, even given that, they're fantastic books to just understand the fundamentals of what's going on inside the engine and with the chassis. In terms of other books, the books I read quite a lot, it's the Patrick O'Brien Master and Commander series. That's just, I love those books, and there's about 20 of them, and you can go around and read. Once you're finished, you can go back to the start again. Just a fantastic historical sort of fiction set around the Napoleonic Wars with the Royal Navy and the early American Navy as well. So that would be my recommendation for a fun read.
Sounds cool. I love it. I'll put links to those on Alan's show notes page. So, Alan, before I let you go today, I'm going to enable you to go on what I call the ultimate ride. Now, you've been on many ultimate rides. You mentioned one there when you went to Japan and rode those wonderful MotoGP bikes. If I could park any bike in your garage and allow you to take it for a ride anywhere, and maybe I park 2 bikes so a friend could go with you versus putting someone on a bike with you, because a lot more fun to be on a bike by yourself. What does that ultimate ride look like for a guy like you who's ridden so many cool bikes?
Yeah. Well, there's actually one ride that me and a friend, Scott Grimsville, he's a marketing manager at BMW UK. Actually, we always spoke about we would get some BMW K1600 Tourers, and we would ride to the Kubinka Tank Museum in Moscow in Russia, because we both like military history, and we were having a beer one time and says, that'll be the trip, we'll do it next year, we'll do it the year after, we'll just ride these bikes. And I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 miles to Moscow and back. And sadly, that's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. But that was one of the ones that we thought that'd be just fantastic. Ride these big BMW Tourers to this legendary tank museum, which we both want to go and see.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Well, you got to find some time to do that, dude. One thing I've learned after interviewing so many people, and especially people who have been up there in years, is go do these dream rides while you still can, because time is fleeting. We mentioned that before, so there you go. You've taken us on a wonderful ride today, Alan, and I'm so grateful that our mutual friend Steve Roth at the Quarto Group, who published this wonderful book known as Motorbooks, connected us today. So, Steve, you brought me another great guest.
Steve's a legend.
He's really great. Yeah, he's awesome. And I'll tell you, Quarto Group, I'll put a link to them too. They have so many wonderful books on automotive cars, motorcycles, tractors. I mean, it's just everything. And books outside of the realm. They've got all sorts of stuff. So check them out. Before I let you go today, Alan, would you share a success quote, words of inspiration for our listeners out there?
Just get it done, as we said before.
Just get it done.
Get it done. That's the bottom line, isn't it? That's what you've got to do.
Kind of goes back to the Nike quote, just do it. Yeah, how many, boy, that's got to be the winning writing quote. I sure hope the guy that wrote that got paid something decent for that one, because that's been used by everybody. But yeah, just get it done. You know what? Just get out there and do it. If you want to get into riding motorcycles, go ride one. I mean, there's great schools. When I got back into riding, I took my safety course, and I'm glad I did that, because I think it saved me many times. Because I'd ridden only dirt bikes, not on the streets, and the streets are a whole nother realm out there.
Steady away.
Got to be careful. Absolutely. How can people learn more about you, Alan?
Hey, I've got a website, alandowds.com. I'm on Twitter, Alan Dowds, Instagram, Facebook, all the usual spots. But I write in Fast Bikes magazine each month. I work for Classic Motorcycle Mechanics, so you'll see me round and about. I'm here, there, and everywhere.
Here, there, and everywhere, and down the road. Again, that's Alan Dowds, Dowds, Alan Dowds. Check him out. Check out the book. Holidays are coming. If you got a friend who loves bikes, this makes a spectacular gift. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you're going to love it yourself, too. So buy yourself two. One for you, one for your buddy. Alan, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your expertise.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was a lot of fun. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.